Hey everybody, it's Sherry Dutter from Tier 1 Interventions. Today, John Lee is going to uncover some new material. She didn't even tell me what this time. So, take it away, John Lee, and let's get started.
Mission accomplished. Mission accomplished. We are going to unpack exactly what that means in our first segment here of our live session today. And then we also have to think, what are the common themes that we're trying to develop throughout? And all of those themes need to be exposed to our students in season 1, in unit 1, in chapter 1 of our school year. So when you think about our textbook chapter 1, or your pacing guide unit 1, or your scope and sequence part 1, that is not how any of those things are currently designed. They do not include all of your content standards at the most basic level. But the novel model does. And this is why I say we have a structure problem. Now, we have an instruction problem, and we have a presenting problem, and we have a facilitation problem. But number one, first and foremost, we have to fix the structure problem in how we are designing our year. This is what we call in our master class pre-planning. The big pre-planning method is looking at the entire year and setting up the entire year as your pre-plan. Then you can start planning your weekly and monthly and daily lessons from that. But without a without a pre-planning exercise, either by yourself or in collaboration with your grade level team, or better yet, in collaboration with your entire district, without a pre-planning, deliberate and intentional exercise and structure, any planning you do for lessons throughout the year are going to have much less of an effect and impact on student achievement. So how do we do this? I'm going to lay out the steps right now. I'm not going to define all the steps until we are meeting with our Tier 1 Interventions Level 2 team that are here live right now. But I'm going to tell you exactly what the steps are to create your novel model in your district and or with your classroom specifically. Number one, and I've already exposed some of this, but now I'm going to put it in the streamlined checklist version. So, number one, overarching question, what story are you telling? Let's think about how, now, I'm not an expert in literacy or in literary development or in any of that. So if any of you are here live and I'm not making like the correct analogy, I want you to just flag me down and unmute and say something else or add to it. Don't be afraid to interrupt me from this point on. Okay, don't be afraid to interrupt me. Amy, Sherry, Teresa, Kathy, Kirk, Janet, don't be afraid to interrupt me. Just flag me down and then I will pause for you to unmute. Don't wait. Don't write it down. Don't hold that in here and try to remember it later. I'm giving you permission and I'm telling you it's going to be necessary for you to interact with this as I'm explaining it. Because you're all the team of experts for this structure. You all have been doing it. You've been creating from this model. You've been implementing it. So don't wait. Don't be afraid to jump in. Okay? So think about this if you're writing a novel. Now, I've never written a novel. And when I wrote my book, I hired a ghostwriter. So I'm not an expert in writing a novel. But to use this analogy, I've done some research on what people do when they write a novel. Okay? So if you're writing a novel, the first thing you have to do is ask yourself this overarching question. what is the story you're telling? You have to have a general idea of, after people read the book, what are they going to walk away taking away? Like, you have to know that as the author, which in mathematics, most educators can't answer this. Or if they do answer it, they actually answer it in the right way. They'll start listing math content pieces, which is actually step 2 of of this, which is essential, defining essentials. So think about this in math and in writing this novel. So in mathematics, the first thing we need to think about is, what is our overarching outcome of telling this story? Now, I'm going to take it to a district level because, yes, you can do this as a single teacher in a single year. But if you can actually do this at a district level, you will be the district everyone looks to follow, because you have achieved such high math achievement in your district with the masses that people are going to be like, what are you doing? And then you're going to say, we just followed the novel model. Easy as that. So, number 1, at a district level, you have to answer this question. What story are you telling? What story are you telling K-12? And to answer that question, you need to define as your district, what is your ultimate math achievement goal for your district? Not each year, but for your district. What's your overarching end? What's your end goal? What's the punchline? As the plot thickens, what do you hope people achieve? And then within that, what part of the story is each grade level telling? What part of the story are you responsible for telling? And I'm going to give a couple of examples of this in a moment, but I want to design the whole outline. I want to tell you the whole outline first. Then I'm going to give you a couple of examples of each one. So at a district level, you need to ask yourself, what is your ultimate math goal? What is going to show your district at the end of 12th grade? What is your district going to use to say, we have achieved math success? Now, I'm going to give you some multiple choice here. You can choose any of these. You might say, you know what, in our district, we want the opportunity for all kids to be able to take AP Calc. Now, with our current traditional system, now hold on. Hold your horses. Put your pants back on. In our traditional typical math system, you're going to be like, there's no way we can achieve that goal. No, not the way we're doing it. But with the novel model, this is a very reachable goal. I promise you. In your district, you might say, you know what? If we just get kids to have success in high school at the Algebra 1 level, like if we can show from data that all of our kids, 100% of kids in our district have achieved Algebra 1, by whatever measure that is, we here in Ohio, we have the end of course exam for Algebra 1 that kids take. Maybe that is your ultimate goal. But you got to pick one vision. You might say, you know what? Our school, like literally my district this year, is switching to ACT. So you might say, in Ohio, students, all of our juniors this year in our district must take the ACT. We're taking it during school. They're all taking the ACT. So you might say as a district, okay, what story are we telling and what are we hoping to achieve? What's our ultimate goal? You might say ACT results. If ACT isn't yours, you're going to say SAT results. Or you might say, and this was one that we had for a while and then it was abandoned because we weren't achieving it. And here's the thing, this is what's so wrong with what we're doing. We were like, look, we can fix all of our math problems if we make Algebra 2 a requirement for high school. That's what the powers beyond said. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with the powers beyond, okay? Don't even get me started on that soapbox. You know who you are, and you know who they are, okay? And I get snarky because y'all don't know what you're doing. But a while back, just a few years ago, actually, many states said, okay, we're going to fix all of our math problems if we just say the ultimate goal is for kids to succeed in Algebra 2. So we're going to make Algebra 2 a high school requirement. How'd that work out for us? Huh? How'd that work out? It didn't. It failed miserably. So guess what? In Ohio, Algebra 2 is not a high school requirement. Algebra 2, and let me be specific because it's different everywhere. Algebra 2 end of course exam passing is not a requirement for graduation anymore. Used to be.
Come in.
Kirk, talk to us.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I thought
Somebody
you
knocked
wanted
on
to
my
say
door
something.
and I was going to say something earlier and it was snarky and not nice, so I bit my tongue, but I forgot to mute myself again.
Oh, I wish you wouldn't have bit your tongue.
I don't want to be Mr. Negativity.
I was just Miss Negativity.
Oh, you were much nicer than I wanted to be. That's what I was going to say. You have a love-hate relationship. I just think they're stupid.
Look, we have to start putting things out there. We have to start getting fired up. We have to start being real. We have to start truth telling because what needs to happen in mathematics education is a complete and total shift. It is not these little minor tweaks all the time. It is not about policy change. It is not about giving teachers merit pay based on their student success. Bill Gates. Now, I said it. I said Bill Gates, but love him, hate him. I'm going to tell you why, and I'm going to give some accolades to Bill Gates for a moment. Bill Gates, and he's given a lot of money to education. So I don't want to, Bill Gates was behind an initiative in math education that said, and he was like, look, if we pay teachers for good student results, we're going to get better student results. Now, long story short, that didn't work, but good for you, Bill Gates, when you actually publicly came out and said, I thought this would work and it didn't. That takes a big person to be able to do that. Now, when he said it, in the beginning, all educators were like, you're out of your ever-loving mind. Do you realize how many things are wrong with that? Do you realize we're putting the children's fate in our hands do you realize this isn't a private company that we're trying to increase productivity of the adults? Because the productivity of adults that we're trying to increase in education, we're relying on outcomes of kids. So like when Bill Gates came out and did this, we were all like, I'm not even going to say, because Kirk, I want to just stay nice as I can. Okay. But no sarcasm here. No sarcasm here. It did take a lot for him to come out, Bill Gates to come out and say, look, we tried that and it failed miserably. It didn't work. Now, educators were like, duh. But you know what? We had to try it to say it doesn't work. But guess what else we did? Guess what else we did? And this is where I get snippy with Minds on Math and the Mastery Math Method. And when school districts say to me, what research base do you have? How do you know this works? We can't try it until we have the research it up. Whoa! All of the policies that were created that were required for teachers to do, AKA Common Core, merit pay, Algebra 2 as a graduation requirement. The list could go on and on. All of the policies that were created that then schools were required to do by the state or federal levels, by the state or federal government, were an experiment. They were not backed by research. So don't give me the, John Lee, we can't use your novel model because it's not research-based. First of all, it is research-based if you define what research-based actually means. And second of all, don't tell me you can't do it because it's not research-based, because all of the policies that have been given to us by government entities that schools have been required to do are not research-based. Let me give you the most recent example. RIMPs for reading. In Ohio, we have what are called RIMPs for reading. Kids that don't score a certain measure on an assessment must have an individual plan, an individual customized intervention plan that is called a RIMP. Now, since that's a policy, I'm assuming that we're saying by making this policy, we're expecting that reading is going to grow. Success in reading, reading achievement is going to improve. See, we're implementing that, but a RIMP has never been some kind of research project. So I need you to hear what I'm saying. And the reason I'm saying this is you can't use the excuse, I can't use the novel model as our structure and instruction delivery system because it's not research-based. So I'm eliminating that excuse for you because I'm proving other things that we've been required to do that have not been through the research model. Now, research-based doesn't mean the actual thing that we're doing has been through an experiment already before. Research-based means we take results of other research, of other models, of other things, of other chunks, and apply it to the new model.
John Lee, I want to close out Tier 1 Interventions podcast. And that is, if you are listening to this podcast and you are thinking, how do I get involved? You want to head over to your show notes and click on the link. We are offering you to come to a session like this, where you get all 2.5 hours at one shot for $47. You can then join another session for another $47, or you can buy the whole year for $497. Plus, you have to buy if you're going to go buy the whole year, you're going to have to buy level 1 as well. But the coaching and these conversations that we're having are $497. That sounds to me like a really good deal so really think the way you're thinking about not just mathematics, but occupational therapy delivery, speech therapy delivery, special ed delivery, and how we're helping these kids rethink, re-regulate, relearn, and think about life as whole.
Good pause there to make that ending connection. Love it. All right, kids, I'm going to jump because I'm on a time schedule today. So I'm going to jump. If you guys have any other conversation, have at it. Love you guys. Oh my gosh. You're awesome.
I was going to sign off as well. You guys have a wonderful holiday.
You as well. Bye.
Bye.
Love you all.